Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this week's edition of Keep the Mic On. I am Simply Sherry, and as we've said for almost 3 years now, it's been
Damn,
3 years, girl genius.
damn.
We we have been here almost every week in conversation with one of our artist friends, people we enjoy talking to, people we want to get to know better. Um, you'll notice that there's only two of us this evening. Kaniki had an emergency. Kaniki Jakarta, our host for Poets and Platforms. So, and she's had to not be here this evening. She will be back next week, hosting her night, and I'm really excited about what's coming up with her and her guest that she has next week. Real quick, I'm going to go ahead and kick it to Girl Genius. Almost had it.
I was gonna try and do some old background. See, I got it. Haha. I was gonna go
Mhm.
back and do some background stuff like I normally do, like post up, make sure people are in and watching and tune back in and know that we're here. But
Mhm.
I will get back to that momentarily. Hi
Mhm.
everyone, I am Girl Genius. Pleasure to be here with you this week.
Mhm.
I host a segment called "Let's Talk About the Dot Dot Dot." Usually books,
Mhm.
but all things tangible from the time you have the idea in your lovely little brain to, oh my God, look, there's a thing. I did a thing and it's out in the world and it's a baby. Yay! There you go.
Mhm.
Um, I'm very happy to be here. And of course, our other host who is not here this evening, her week is called Poets and Platforms,
Mhm.
where she talks about artists who have platforms for the arts. And of course, if she was here, she would also say, and I'm glad you just pulled this up, we have been here for 3 years. I cannot believe we've been here for 3 years, literally almost 3 years in March. 3 years. We are fast approaching the almost think we're a month away from the 3 year anniversary, 4 year
Yep.
anniversary.
Yep.
Yeah,
1 month away.
we are 1 month away from the anniversary. So, yeah, as she would say, if you have joined with us every week or just some weeks or at all, you know that we bring you quality entertainment. And these platforms is not free. So if you feel so inclined,
Mhm.
there is a button down at the bottom, or there is a website at the bottom that is our Cash App. If you feel
Yes.
inclined to support, please support us and keep the mic on. We are key, or you know what? It ain't even about like monetary support because I get it. Eggs is like $12 a dozen. I'm just saying you can like, subscribe, share, tell a friend, tell a friend, tell a friend, get our viewership
Please
up.
subscribe. We
Please
are
subscribe.
we're
We almost at
excited.
the
We are 4 people away from our first 100. We're just
really.
saying. And I was just really looking at our analytics a moment ago, and a lot of the people that watch are not subscribed. Like
Right.
50% of our
Like y'all
views are
watch
not.
and you don't subscribe.
You should
Subscribe
just
so we can
come
so we
back.
can so we can do some really awesome things with this platform. So we are definitely on all the socials. Plus, I'm gonna start backing up some content for the shorter form platforms like IG and that kind of stuff. Also, past shows, as many of them as we have, I have been, believe it or not, we still have more. It's 3 years worth of a weekly show. I have been backdating the shows into Spotify. So now you have an option to listen to the podcast. Listen to the show. Throw it on in the background while you're on your commute to work. Throw it on in the background while you do dishes and listen to these phenomenal interviews that we've been doing. Like, there you go. That's how you support us. And I do
That is
believe
true.
I see our guests over there in the
Yep.
background. Y'all can't
I
see, but in the
see them
background.
now. I see them now. I'm very excited. I was getting a little concerned there for a minute. Um, so tonight is my night. It is called From Behind the Microphone, where I take the time to get to know the person behind the performance, because performers are people too. And tonight, some I'm gonna call y'all old G's, original viewers of the Keep the Mic On show will say, wait a minute, this person has been here before. You are absolutely right. But this was in our days when, and he was with Danielle on Let's Talk About talk about the book. But these are the days when we honestly say we didn't know what we were doing. We had no idea that we should record these things and save them and upload them to YouTube for posterity. So
And they've done other stuff since then.
And plus they've done other stuff since then. So we wanted to take the opportunity to bring them back this month. And this person is one of our all-time favorite poets and peoples and persons. So, girl genius, I will see you shortly. Jamaal St. John is a spoken word artist who hails from New Rochelle, New York. He's been performing his poetry on stages across the country and Canada for over 26 years. He has been a member of 4 Nuyorican National Slam teams, all of which have placed the top 5 in the nation. He is the 2-time Nuyorican Glam Slam champion and the 7-time winner of the Toronto International Poetry Slam. He released his first book of poetry, A Choice of Weapons, in 2018, which is available for purchase on Amazon. He currently resides in West Orange, New Jersey. Audience that was watching, everyone, please give it up for Jamaal St. John. Come on. Hey, how are you?
How's everybody doing? How are you doing?
We're doing okay. All right. Do you have a good connection today? Because you're kind of fuzzy.
Am I fuzzy?
You're a little fuzzy.
I am a little fuzzy. Okay.
And we can hear you. And normally we would have worked this out a little bit ahead of time, but we had a bit of Jamaal had a couple of technical issues and we just got in to the room. But don't worry, we're gonna make it work. We're gonna make it do what it do tonight.
Okay.
All right. How you doing, sir?
Don't
worry, we're gonna make
you know
it work.
what I'm doing okay. It's really a pleasure to be here. I'm so grateful that you guys decided to have me. Thank you.
Oh no, you, like as I've stated, you are one of my favorite people. We already know every other year at Busboys and Poets, when is Jamaal featuring? It's on my schedule.
I am super
Wait,
grateful.
I'm going to interject. I traveled to New York to come see you. Stop playing.
Right? That is true. And actually, we'll talk about that later. Jamaal, I'm going to give you the floor to go ahead and deliver your first poem of the day.
First poem. I'll do one that I just wrote. And we'll see how it goes. Let's see here. Let's pull it up. All right, so this first poem is called Blame Copernicus, or Sir Mix-a-Lot explains why he made Baby Got Back. Because the world needed a jam worth of all that J. Because I needed to show them that the same bodies they wouldn't put on the billboard were the same bodies that made me #1 on Billboard. Because your buns are my bread. Because you can't be called gross when you gross. Because your curves are conditioned, and I can't think of anything that with steatopigia. Because a woman with some serious ass be the butt of the, because all it took was for me to pay homage to make everyone else pay attention. Because you were owed an ode. Because you deserve to be remembered for more than being dismembered. Because if the word derriere means black woman stolen from Africa in 1814 and not returned until 2002. Because someone had to give you your body back. Because even if they can't stop staring, it doesn't mean they actually see you. Because they said my purpose was to objectify, when all I did the Thick Soul Sisters needed a word. Because they say the lyrics to the song are disgusting, but don't find the thought of your body jars jarring. Because your mother was to play formaldehyde and seek just to find a way to give you proper burial, and now every conversation about a Black woman sounds like a eulogy the way they praise that ass to death, because I was tired of Black women feeling ashamed of how they looked in their jeans, because I was tired of Black women feeling ashamed of how their jeans looked on them, because when I said I like butts and I cannot lie, I never thought my honesty would be seen so untrustworthy, because meaning my anaconda doesn't make me a snake in the grass, because the world's never going to let you just put all that behind you, because presently, every time one of your sisters walks past, all the men say she has a beautiful future behind her, because ain't a damn thing wrong with a woman having something to look forward to and something to look back at simultaneously, and ain't behind 2020 anyway, because they think how it's let a woman know where she stands, because the applaud is when she can make it clap, because as long as the club remains a popular haunt, woman will never be able to completely not win, to shake it like a Polaroid picture the moment she develops, only to later view her body as a negative in dark rooms that yield no Kodak moments, because I can't imagine how many times you had to turn the other cheek, because this record is the only record, because Prince got it all wrong when he said the world of man revolves around the sun, when you already proved it revolves around the moon. And I will never allow that fact to be eclipsed or allow anyone to call it phase, referring to such musings as lunacy, because we started with bottom, now we here.
Ooh. I don't have any pens to throw, otherwise I would. I don't know how it actually worked virtually. Oh,
Did I lose Sherry?
I'm here. Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Jamaal? Mic check 1 2 1 2. Okay, let me try something here. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna take him off the screen and bring him back. Can you hear me now, Jamaal?
I can hear you.
Oh, okay. I was just making sure. Making sure. I was just saying, wow, your pen is ridiculous and always has been. We're gonna start here because you write about Black women a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And they're always the love of Black women in general. And it's while not being lustful, which I appreciate. Which probably a lot of us appreciate. Why have you taken this as part of your, what's the word I'm looking for here? I'm just going to say ethos as part of your performances.
Well, I think the first reason is because I kind of, as if I don't want to say Black women are voiceless. I don't ever want to say that. And I don't ever want to make the mistake of saying that I'm speaking on their behalf, because that implies that they can't do it for themselves. But I do feel like we as men, I mean, we have, I think we have, sort of an obligation to uplift our sisters, but the rest of the world won't. And I feel like, and just like how I feel when I hear sisters talk lovingly and glowingly about Black men, I want to be able to get that same feeling to Ben as well, and be able to do it in a way that is that's fun and artistic, and something that is entertaining. But at the same time, I do want to I do want to make sure that I take that responsibility very seriously, and you know, and make it, and I know it sounds kind of cliche, but I really do, you know, want to make my mama proud. I want to make my grandmother proud. I want to make my sister proud. I want to make my wife proud, and I want to make my female friend proud as well, because you know, because for me, that's the main thing. If someone comes up to me after a show, if a lady comes up to me after a show, or a sister comes up to me after a show, and she says, "You really, you know, you really my story," or you really made me feel great about being a Black woman, you know what I'm saying? Then you know my job is done. You know what I mean? And I feel, you know, I feel super, super proud of that. So
I like that answer. I really do. Um, how would if somebody on that watches this watching this now, and I doubt that is the case. What I'm everything I'm about to say, I doubt this is the case. So somebody that's watching this after today said Jamaal St. John does fill in the blank type of poetry. What would you say?
um it's a good question. I probably would say hmm that's a damn good question. What kind of
You know,
poetry
I
do I
have to
do?
remember
You
that
know,
one for later.
it is. It's a fantastic question. I mean, it's weird because I think it just kind of I just kind of go where the spirit takes me, honestly. And I know for me personally, I mean, I could say, uh, you know, I do social commentary. I could say, you know, I could do poems uh, about the full figured women I love. I could say that I do poems that talk about you know, the relationship between, you know, Black men and Black women. Um, it kind of runs the gamut. You know, never try to pigeonhole myself into any one thing. I think it's important to be as versatile as possible, and as diverse as possible. So I want to be able to do, reading, at Busboy, and I might want to Tacoma Park and do the erotic poetry show. I never want to feel like what we do as poets. We are, you know, basically like we tell about the social, like we talk about the human condition a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
And human beings are very complex. We're not monolith. We're not one thing all the time. You know what I mean? When I first started doing poetry, I used to think that everybody was like this huge revolutionary, and and when I would see them off the mic, it would be something completely different. You know what I mean? But what I realized is that what we talk about in our poems a lot of times are basically like aspirations. You know what I'm saying? It represents maybe a place where we would like to be at some point, and we would like to get there. But but we're trying to find our way there. And I think that's kind of what we do. We talk a lot. We do a lot of this like high-minded and a lot of times I think those things are aspirational. That's kind of where we want to be at some point in time. And maybe we just haven't gotten there yet, but at least we know that we're like on the right path. So I think that the poems that we do are manifestations of aspirations that we have, or even aspirations for the world. You know what I mean? As the world like to see, and because we're able to manifest, because we're able to create from seemingly nothing, I think that's where our magic is. That's where the power is, being able to take a blank sheet of paper and, and voila, there's a piece, you know what I mean? And we never know what that piece will do. I think there's a very famous interview with Tupac, where he says, I may change the world, but I may say something that sparks the brain of the person, changes the world. And I think
Ooh.
that was one of the, yeah, that was one of like the dopest quotes I ever heard. Because it's recognized, like, I may not be the one, but something I say will spark that will end up being the person that does that. So, I think that's pretty cool, and I think that's a good place to start.
I like that. I like that quote. I need to
Yeah,
remember that. I need to
yeah,
remember that.
yeah. It was one of his very last interviews, and I think he did it like on MTV or something like that, and he was the interviewer, and that was one of like the best quotes I've ever heard. I was like, wow, and that really stuck with it, resonated with me, because I know we would like to think that we could all change the world. We would like to think that that poems that we write, and the things that we do on stage, will create that, but maybe it won't, but that's okay, because you never know who's the audience watching. You never know, how somebody walks away from a performance and what that sparked in them, you know what I mean? And then they take that and then they create something, you know what I mean? And I think that so long as we're able to do, so long as we're able to keep creating,
Mm,
I think that's the purpose of it all, is to try to affect change in some small or some drastic way. And I think that's kind of, and that's the purpose of art too. I think, art is that, like, art has always been, whether we're talking about painting, music, dance, poetry, rap music, whatever. You know what I'm saying? It's always been about, um, you know, it's always a barometer of where we are in society at any given point in time. Like, they always tell you, if you really want to know where a particular society is, you just listen to the music, and you listen,
mm,
you view the art of a particular society at any given point in time, and it will tell you exactly where that society is, what that society is about, what values
mm.
they have, and so forth and so on. So I just think that it's just really important that we take the art as seriously as possible, and do what we can to make a positive impact.
Wow. Okay. I didn't. Okay. So yeah. So now we're. You know what? Other people have told us that this is a master class, and that is definitely one of the master class moments right there. Write that down. So my next question for you is, it's the standard question: inspiration. Where do you find inspiration for the pieces that you write?
I know this is gonna sound really strange,
Mm,
um, but but I am one who believes that poetry, just like any other form of art, is really a beautiful form of alchemy. Um,
mm,
so if you were to ask me where I get my inspiration from, I'll be honest with you. It
mm,
is through the most ignorant stuff. Like I kid you not. I kid you not.
mhm,
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not uncommon to hear me blasting, trap music in my headphones while I'm writing. Um, because the thing of it is that I've always felt like,
mhm,
how do we take those messages? How do we take the messages that we get, that we feel are negative, whether that be in in music or in the newspapers or in books and things of that nature? How do we take those things and how do we turn those things on their ear and come out with a positive message, you know what I mean, or an uplifting message, from that, you know what I mean? So, so for instance, I'm one who, like I said, like just give you an example. I love full-figured women, and
Mhm.
everywhere I turn, there's all this fat shaming and there's all this all this body shaming and like, I watch what happens with, celebrities like Jill Scott or Lizzo or people like that. And for me, it's like, okay, I could get upset about it because I don't like it. But at
Mhm.
the same time, what if instead of just complaining about it, I actually took that stuff, used it as fuel, and then sat down and wrote something to combat that or to counter that message, and then put that out into the universe. You know what I'm saying? As maybe a beacon of hope for for uh, a full figured woman who's in an audience. I know some of my most gratifying moments have been when I do a poem called 10 Things I Want to Say to a Thick Woman. And
Love that poem.
um and and you be surprised. I mean, I've usually asked for volunteers to come on stage when I do it,
Mhm.
and you'll be surprised as to how many women that are full figured have never been talked to like a human being, or have never been talked to and called beautiful or called attractive or called sexy or whatever the case may be. You know what I mean? And it's like, you know, to see a person cry, to see a woman cry because they're just like, nobody's ever talked to me that way before, or because, they've never heard those words uttered in their direction. You know what I'm saying? That's why I do it. Because if I can make her feel that way, or help her recognize that she should be talked to that way, that she is worthy and deserving, and she should have that respect, she should have that admiration. And it's not like the guy's doing you a favor by by saying all this. Like, no, you really do deserve that. And you know what I'm saying? And I can't tell you how many inboxes I've gotten, and emails I've gotten from women that I've pulled up on stage and done that with. And then they're like, that poem
Mhm.
changed my whole view of myself,
Mm.
because I didn't see myself that way. You know what I mean? And that's and again, Sherry, it's not even just poetry, right? It's the
Right.
fact that it's the fact that words have power. You know what I'm saying? So, so when you look at the Bible says the power of life and death reside on thy tongue, right? And
Mm.
my grandfather, God bless the dead, before he passed, he would always use that particular passage of the Bible. He would always say it. And I never understood it as a kid. But
Mhm.
when I got older and I started doing this and I started seeing how words can affect people, words can tear people down or words can lift people up. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? And even if you look throughout history, one of the things that you'll find is that regardless of if we're talking about some of the greatest people in history or some of the worst, one thing that has always amazed me is that pick any of them and you'll find that pretty much all of them were great orators.
That is true.
Malcolm X, Martin Luther King Jr., Julius Caesar, Hitler.
You know what? This entire time when you were saying that, that is the one that hit my head was Hitler. It's like,
Yes,
and we are not praising Hitler in this moment,
right,
but
exactly.
what we're saying, but what And I'm pretty sure what we are saying is that in order for Hitler to be able to do what he did, he had to convince that group that in what he was saying.
Sherry, can I just tell you something?
Mm-hmm.
Let me tell you how powerful words are when it comes to Hitler, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Hitler convinced an entire nation that the master race was blonde-haired and blue-eyed.
And he was a brown-eyed brunette.
See what I'm saying?
Right?
See what I'm saying? Like, so I mean, you know, so it's one of those things where, you know, I understand how important this is. Like, you know, like in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Sherry, you know what I'm saying? Before anything else was the Word. It was the first invention, the first creation. Before Adam and Eve, before the heavens, before it was the Word. You know what I mean? And so everything that we do is predicated on that. So, like I said, we never know who we're talking to or how we're affecting them. You know what I'm saying? So it's not just sitting down, you know, to a typewriter or a computer or with a notebook and just, you know, and just put some words together and write a poem and then just throw it out there. It's like, nah, we have to put thought into that. You know what I'm saying? We have to put thought into that. You know what I'm saying? We craft these things. So it's more than just sitting there and just saying, well, I'm just going to do this because I'm clout chasing, or because I feel like I want to pander to a certain audience, or because I want to win a slam, or whatever the case may be. Nah, what we do is so important because I'm going to tell you something, Sherry, like, long time ago. I mean, I started doing spoken word in 1994. Okay. So next year it'll be 30 years.
Oof.
And I will tell you that, you know, back then, you know, that was like the Love Jones era, right? And so everybody had their erotic poems, and, you know, and it was all about that. It was either that or it was the revolution.
There's no in between.
There's no in between, right? And then, you know, but I realized that you could do erotic poems, you could do revolutionary poems, you could do social commentary poems, you could do humorous poems, you know, whatever the case may be. So long, but again, remember now, there's good erotic poems and there's bad erotic poems. There's good social commentary poems, and then there's bad social commentary poems. You know what I mean? And our job is to do the best we can to give the public an alternative source of entertainment, but entertainment that also kind of uplifts them, maybe, you know, maybe even helps them see something that they didn't, you know, see something in a way they didn't see before. You know what I mean? You know, I always say that you don't, like, we don't write to have a bunch of people agree with us. You know what I'm saying? Because you're never going to get that. You're never going to get a consensus of, well, I agree with it, you know, or even a consensus of I disagree with it. But
or even consensus of people whether or not I really liked it.
Right. But
wow, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Whoa, no. Wait a second. Off topic for a second, and I'm gonna come right back.
Yeah.
This week has been my week of let me watch all the movies that were nominated for Oscars.
I saw that.
The last one I just watched, I'm still trying to figure out. It's like I don't even think everybody liked that movie.
Which movie was that?
Triangle of Sadness.
Oh, okay.
Don't do it to yourself. Don't do it. I want to meet the people that put this on the list and just ask them why. Explain this one to me.
Okay, one of those.
Yeah.
Okay. Was it a foreign film, or was it?
I don't think so.
Because I hadn't even heard of it.
I don't. You know what? Okay, so I was there, and we're gonna skip. We're gonna go. This is what poets do. We write and talk about stuff. So we're just going to talk about stuff. I don't think anybody had heard of it really until it got nominated for an Oscar.
Damn. Damn.
And I'm looking at the IMDb. I don't think so. I don't think it was. I don't think it's a foreign film. It may, may have been, it may be, but still, the film makes no sense.
Wow.
In my opinion, the film makes no sense.
Okay.
Like the other films, all right, I get it. I understand why they were nominated. I'm like, this one, nah. But anyway, and I have one more to go.
Wow.
And I have to decide whether or not I'm gonna actually go to the movie theater to go see it.
Oh, okay. Did you you caught all these? You caught all these on streaming services? The other ones were on stream?
9 of the 10 nominated films, and we're going to get back to poetry and discussion in a moment. Okay. 9 of the 10 nominated films are on varying streaming platforms.
Okay.
Of that 9, 2 of them you have to rent.
Wow.
But the rental was only $6.
Okay, not bad.
Not bad.
Not bad at all.
The rest of them, Netflix. One of them is on Netflix. One of them is on Paramount Plus. 2 of them are on HBO. Oh, wait a minute. I don't know about Avatar.
Okay.
Tar is on Peacock Plus. I saw Avatar in the theater. So wait a minute. You have to go to the theater to see Avatar. So if you haven't seen Avatar, you have to go to the theater to see it. Women Are Talking is the only one that is still in. Those 2 are the only 2 that are still in the theater.
Gotcha.
But I've seen it already, and I don't need to see it again. I'll have a ranking later this week.
Damn. Okay.
But yeah, so let me rephrase. Let me say that again. 6 of the 10 are available on streaming platforms that you don't have to rent. That if you have a membership to Netflix, you can get to it.
Okay.
2 of them are still in the theater. 2 of them you can rent. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll have to check that out.
Okay. So the point of that little roundabout we just did is the joke that I made about was it even did everybody even really like?
Yeah.
What you say?
well. Again, I think it's important that or one of the most important things is to find out how closely the audience was listening, right? Because you could have somebody come up to you after a show and be like, yeah, that was great. That was wonderful. That was powerful, blah, blah, blah. And then you say, well, which part of the poem did you like? And they're like, well, the whole thing. You know what I'm saying?
I get that. But because it definitely comes different to you when you are talking to someone after a set, and they're like, oh, I loved how you wrote this line. Oh, that's what I need to put under that picture when I post it. I have to remember that. So yeah, there is definitely a different feeling when they're like, yeah, this is what I love about that piece. Yeah. Or it's, I love the whole piece because of the feeling that it gave me. It's also a different.
Yeah. And I think it's kind of like that old adage of people receiving something in the spirit in which it was given. Yeah. You know what I mean? So when people recognize that, that's a beautiful thing too. And then sometimes, the other part of it is when somebody says something or somebody does a poem and then at the end you're like, I don't get it. Like I'll be honest. I've gone to
Mhm.
my fair share of and please erotic poets don't kill me, but I'm going to my fair share of erotic readings
Mhm.
where people are talking about all these different things and they're trying to put all these different metaphors in there and everything, and they're trying to make sex not sound like sex, but it's sex. And then you're like, but where do the purple hearts, green clovers, blue stars, and purple diamonds come into play? Like, isn't that Lucky Charms? Is it, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, it's, you know what I mean? And it's just like, I don't, why was that in the piece? I don't get, I don't understand. Okay.
Well, you
So,
well now you've walked it. You've definitely now you've walked down the garden path to my neighborhood of the poetry world, my lane, where
okay.
people find me often. Is, in your opinion, what makes a good erotic poem?
I think the thing that makes it a great erotic poem is understanding what erotic is.
Mhm.
I think because if you've ever Audre Lorde
Mhm.
has a beautiful essay in Sister Outsider where she talks about the uses of the erotic, right? And in the erotic, what she says is the erotic is all of the sensation and all of the feeling, right? Whereas its polar opposite, pornographic, is all of the sensation and none of the feeling.
Mm.
So the thing about it is that when we talk about erotic poetry, what it is that it's one of those things where erotica, does things through suggestion, right? It
Mhm.
it does everything it does through suggestion. But with pornography, it's in your face. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? It's always in your face. And I think what ends up happening sometimes is that we write porn scenes instead of sex scenes. Like, does every man have like a mandingo penis? Does every woman, hang from chandeliers? Is everybody a super freak? Is that,
Mhm.
does nobody ever have a bad night? You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like you never hear honest poems. I love hearing honest poems. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like, I don't want to hear, like, if I'm sitting there in an audience, I don't want to hear a poem about how, you made a woman orgasm 36 times in a row when I'm looking at statistics and women aren't even orgasming all that much. So somebody's lying. Somebody's lying. Okay, the math ain't mathing. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like, you know
Mhm.
what I mean? And a lot of times it's so crazy because I'm just like, man, I'm like, y'all never prematurely ejaculate, like y'all never, you know what I'm saying? Like, come on now. Like,
Everybody's the hero in
yeah,
everybody's story.
yeah, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I'll be honest with you, like, one of the things that I find to be really interesting is that, 9 times out of 10, when you go to an erotic poetry reading,
Mhm.
the one thing, like, there a friend of, like, I think it was
Mhm.
Selah. Selah.
Mhm.
Shout out to my little sis Selah, Lita. She used to say, like, when you do an erotic poem, the best erotic poems are the ones where you don't mention the words dick, pussy, or cum. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't mention those words. Take those words out of your vocabulary and then tell me the story. You know what I mean? Tell me what the scene is. Tell me, and I always used to be like, damn, like, how do you do that? Like, how, but
It
it's a
can be
it's
done.
yes, and it's a craft. And I honestly believe, without beyond a shadow of a doubt, that is the toughest
Mhm.
poetry to write. It is the toughest poetry to write because you always have to walk that fine line between being, being kind of vulgar, right?
Mhm.
But also being creative. You know what I mean? And not to, like for instance, like one of the poems that I love, right? And since she's here, I will give her flowers now. Is Gigi, right?
Mhm.
Gigi did a poem when I was here a while ago about she compared her lover to books,
Mhm.
right? And it's like she puts her face in the book, and I was like, yes, yes. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what I'm talking about. It makes sense. You know what I mean? And not only that, but it's super creative and it's dope the way she did it. You know what I mean? And you know what I mean? And it's like now it's like, oh, it's like, why didn't I think of that? You know what I'm saying? But and so when I see stuff like that, when I see stuff that makes me wish I had written it,
Mhm.
I'm like, yeah, that's it. That's it right there. That's
That's
it
fun.
right
Yeah, because the poem I'm known for, I will mention it, and people are like, "Yep, that's her." I never mentioned any of the hot button words.
there.
We're
Yep.
just gonna call them. I mentioned none of the hot buttons,
Mhm.
but it gets everybody going crazy every goddamn time.
Wow.
Every
Wow.
time.
Okay. Okay. See now, and I think too, like, and
Mhm.
that's the thing. Like when you can make it when you can make it creative, when you can make it fun, when you
Mhm.
can make it to where um where people are just sitting there like hanging on the edge of every word, and like
Mhm.
they can actually picture what's going on. You know what I mean? And it really does flow like a love scene. I think that's the ultimate. And and like I said, that uh, the erotic is that it is something that is suggestive. It is something that can be subtle,
Mhm.
and still be sexy and still be powerful. You know what I mean? It doesn't rely on shock value. It doesn't rely on you having to be so raw with it. You know what I'm saying? Some of these things, like when I listen to some of these pieces, I'm just like, damn, do y'all even love the person you fucking? Like, do
Mm.
y'all, you know what I'm saying? Like, because the way that
Agreed.
y'all make it sound like, does every woman love to be choked? I don't know. Does every woman love to be smacked around? I don't know. You
Mhm.
know what I'm saying? Does every woman require to be punched in the face in order for her to get off? I don't know. But I would think from what I hear, you know what I'm saying? Every woman wants to be choked out. Every woman, like, does anybody see? And here's the thing, too. What I find to be so interesting is that as soon as 50 Shades of Grey came out, everybody was BDSM, right?
Mhm.
But but there is a very famous passage, right, by Zora Neale Hurston,
Mhm.
okay, in Their Eyes Were Watching God, okay. I don't know if you've read it. Have you read it?
I've read it twice.
Okay, so there's a scene, right,
Mhm.
where she's sitting beneath the pear tree or
Mhm.
the peach tree, and she sees Johnny Taylor, shiftless Johnny Taylor, right?
Mhm.
When you read that passage and you read what's going on in terms of what the flowers are doing, what the tree is doing, what the wind is doing,
Mhm.
okay? It's a love scene, but she's using anthropomorphism
Mhm.
to literally paint a love scene, okay?
Mm.
The flowers, the bees, the tree itself. She's laying under the tree, limp and languid, and I'm like, holy shit, this is erotic. That's what this is. You know what I'm saying?
I
And
get.
I'm like, holy. And that's the thing. It's like, when you read stuff like that, you're almost like, man, like there's there's sex going on, but there's no sex going on. It's just it's
Mhm.
it's amazing. You know what I mean? And so when you compare and contrast that with some of the stuff you read in like 50 Shades of Grey, which I'll be honest with you, I read it and it reads like a bad erotic poem. It really does. The cliches are endless. The movie makes it seem more graphic than it is. But to be honest with you, the book is tame compared to what you see on the screen.
I have not read, I think because I have not read 50 Shades of Grey. I did not read it. And it's not because I haven't read those type of books. It's just that we get that in Black books all the time. So it's so much urban fiction.
For sure.
And I was like, what do you really bringing to the table? I think the only thing what 50 Shades of Grey did was put that lifestyle in everybody's face.
Right.
And shows that women read smut. Yeah, we do. Men watch porn, women read it.
That's wow. Wow.
Can I get an amen? Can I get an amen?
Damn. That is so real though. I never even looked at it that way, but you're right. You're absolutely right.
We've been we were reading them Hallmark novels.
The old Danielle Steele joints.
No. They got a whole paperback collection. I think it's Hallmark or some. If anybody watching knows the title of these books that come out in paperback that you could always get, like back in the day, you could probably get them for $1-2. Now they probably about $5-6. You could buy a stack of them like this, right? And stack of them like this for $20. It's nothing. Harlequin. Thank you, Melissa.
Harlequin novels.
Harlequin romances. That's what they are.
Okay.
It's whatever is wrapped in it. It's porn. In some case, I haven't read one in decades. You know what? I think my 20. Wait a second. Harlequin romances. Wait a second. Here we go.
Yeah.
From analysis.
Nally, what up?
They may be backstage shortly, so hopefully he will like bring his link in. Okay, yes. So you know what? I'm gonna need to put that on a t-shirt. Apparently, yes. Men watch porn, women read it. Pick up a Harlequin romance. Next time you at the library, pick up a Harlequin romance, bring it home, sit down with it, and DM me. You're gonna be like, yeah, she's right.
Mind blowing. Wow. Okay. Damn. Yo. You got me on that one. You got me on that one. Holy shit. Wow.
Hold on 1 second. I want to check something right now, real quick, because now I done said it. Harlequin romance. I'm like, what I want to know, like, when did they start? So I had to put a Google out here real quick. I want their Wikipedia. There it is. That's the list of Harlequin romances. No, I want to know when y'all started publishing. Because I remember seeing these. Okay, yeah, looking like they're going, of course. Okay, this is going back to 1949.
God damn.
The first Harlequin romance published was in 1949. We are going back almost 80 years, people. Not quite. 75. I'm going to go 75 years.
Oh my God. Wow. That's crazy.
Okay, so so the only thing that 50 Shades of Grey did was bring that alternate and bring that alternate lifestyle out. Part 1 and part 2 really showed how many women read that genre.
That genre. Yeah.
Wow. You know what? Melissa, we need to get you on. I feel that this is a conversation that we all should have
Yes.
about Harlequin romance.
What up, Mimi?
Cher, we're having a good time. This is what makes doing this fun is
That's
to
right.
have these type of conversations.
Shout out to Cher. Cher,
Mm-hmm.
who when I've never gotten a chance to read in front of Cher before, but she's been a long time Facebook friend of mine, and so I just want to give her some love. She's actually one of our healthcare workers, our frontliners, that was
Mm,
right there during COVID. What I'm saying, I believe she's a nurse, if I'm not mistaken.
mm.
So I just want to send her some love because she out here saving lives for real. So
Thank
salute
you,
to you,
Cher.
Cher. Salute to you for real.
Salute to you, Cher, because
Absolutely.
we all know that the front lines out here has not been easy the past 3 years
Yes,
with
yes,
all the
ma'am.
hard people.
Yes,
And a little
ma'am.
love from Melissa for you.
Yay! That's what's
Just
up.
just going through, just dropping in the comments, dropping in the comments. All right. So this is the part of my interview where I do what, if you've ever watched from behind, from inside the actor studio on Arts and Entertainment Television,
Mhm.
at the end of the show, James Lipton asked the same 10 questions to everybody that came on. This is my version. I think we're actually at 11 questions now. Yeah,
Okay.
because one got thrown, somebody threw, actually, no, there's two that got thrown in.
Okay.
So, question number one, tell us more about what brought you to writing poetry.
uh Actually, I'll be honest with you. I think it was God's way of balancing me out.
Okay.
Um and I'll explain it this way. By nature, I am a very, very shy, introverted person. Extremely. I do get a little social anxiety around crowds, especially crowds of strangers. Never been the best at initiating conversations. Never been the best at talking to people. Um, and I think what poetry did for me was honestly was a way for me to figure out how to navigate that and how to balance some of those tendencies out.
Mhm.
So there are times where I actually feel more comfortable on stage than I do anywhere else. Um, because for some reason this switch goes on, and I used to think it was a different me. And then I realized that it's not a different me. It's a me that I was never able to tap into because I didn't have the confidence to do so.
Mm,
I didn't have the self-awareness. I didn't have the ability to see myself beyond what I thought were flaws. And so I think poetry has helped me see myself in a different light, in a better light, I suppose, and given me a level of confidence, but also a level of humility, because uh, because I understand why people are so frightened of speaking in public. I get it. I absolutely get it. I that's for most people, that's their most crippling fear is speaking in public and embarrassing themselves. And I understand it, and I don't take it for granted that I was given a gift that allows me to be able to do that in front of a whole bunch of strangers. And I'm really, I'm grateful for it, because I tell people all the time that poetry doesn't come from me, it comes through me. And you know what I'm saying? So I'm a vessel like anybody else. And so long as I understand that, so long as I take responsibility for the gift and not credit for it,
mhm.
um I think I'll be okay.
Okay. Tell me the story of your first experience performing, when performing your original poems. Where was it? When was it? How did you feel about it afterwards?
Oh boy. New Eurekan Poets Cafe.
Ooh.
Um, that was my 19th birthday.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and was the very first time I touched an open mic. And that came about because my mother was sick of me walking around the house uh reading poems to her, and she was like, look, this is annoying. Okay, you need an audience. You need an audience besides me. You know what I mean? You need to go out there and do something. And it just so happens that she read an article in Essence magazine, and in the magazine they were doing a story on Reggie Gaines. And I think he was in the process or had done Bringing the Noise, Bringing the Funk with Savion Glover.
Mm-hmm.
And they said he was from the legendary New Eurekan Poets Cafe. And my mother was like, where's that? What is that? And I need to take you there. So literally on my 19th birthday, she blindfolded me, threw me in the back of a car. No lie. And she drove me to the New Eurekan,
Mm-hmm.
took the blindfold off, and there we were. And she was like, it's open mic night, and you're gonna go up there and perform. And I was like, I'm gonna do what?
Okay. I'm going, if you can,
Yeah.
I want you to ask your mother how in 1994,
Mm.
before the internet,
Uh,
how she found out when open mic night was. I just want to know.
yeah. Um, because she actually called. She actually
Okay.
called.
Oh, okay.
And found out. Um, and um, and so I went there, and New Eurekan was interesting because the open mic
Mhm.
is actually a slam. I didn't know what a slam was. I didn't know, like, you know what I'm saying? And so
Mhm.
you read your pieces. There's like 3 rounds,
Mhm.
and you read your pieces, and then, whatever, right? So I did my first piece, and I thought I was done. I was like, oh, I'm done. I did it. You know what I'm saying? I felt really good about it and everything. And they're like, oh, you're in round two. Round two. Uh, uh, okay. And then I did round two and got through round two and got to round three, and I ended up winning the thing.
Wow.
And so I was like, wait, what just happened? You know what I'm saying? And my mother was like, you just went up there 3 times and performed. Now, mind you, I'm not gonna say it was a perfect performance by any means. I had my little notebook, and I'm shaking like I'm like this on
Right.
stage.
Mhm.
And that was the very first time I ever did any kind of performing.
Mhm.
And it was a memorable birthday, I will say. And then after that, I guess I just kind of got the bug. I just kind of got the performance bug, and I kept going back,
Mhm.
and I kept reading, and I kept listening and spectating and going to different kinds of readings, and close to 30 years later, here we are.
Okay. You have chosen not to use a stage name. Why was this your choice?
Oh, well, I'll be honest with you. A lot of people think that my name is actually a stage.
Okay, so wait a minute, because I had this happen to me last year. So let me ask you this question. Let me ask the question like this:
Mhm.
Is Jamaal St. John your stage name or your government?
It is my government.
Okay,
Um,
that's what I thought.
and because I mean, and listen, I've had people
Hmm.
like come to me and be like, "Oh, wait a minute. So your first name is like Muslim and your second name is like Christian. You're like, you come in with like a spiritual kind of name to the state. Like, that's so dope. You know what I'm saying? What I was like, no, like that. No, my mama and them, they named me that. It, you know what I'm saying? Like that, like my mom named me after her favorite jazz pianist.
Mhm.
Her favorite jazz pianist is Ahmad Jamal, and so she named me after him.
Okay.
So that's so that's where that comes from. I'm not Muslim.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? But and St. John is my my real last name. So yeah, so it's so I never, and I'll be honest with you. You know what, I thought about stage names,
Mhm.
but here's the thing that kind of destroyed that. What did it was, um I was in I did a show in like 97, 98, um and at the New Eurekan, and um Journey Smollett, shout out to Journey Smollett, she was in the audience,
Mhm.
and I did this show, and she came up to me after the show and she said, wow. She was like, first of all, let me say that I love your stage name.
Mhm.
And I said, my stage name? You know, that name is that's right there. That name needs to be known. And I was
Mm.
like, and I was like, but that's my real, wow. Wow.
Wow.
And so from that point on, I never forgot that. I never forgot what she said. Um and I remember walking out of the New Eurekan, and she was getting into a car, and before she got into the car, she
Mhm.
said, "That's Jamaal St. John right there." And I was like,
Wow.
confirmation. So after that I was like, I never gave it a second thought.
I get. Okay. This question I got from Dr. Rebecca Dupas one show that we were streaming, and I've held on to it.
Okay.
What is the name or the subject matter of the poem you haven't written?
Sheesh. Oh, wow. What is the name or the um okay. So so I guess here is as good as a place to kind of let the cat out of the bag, but um I've started reading and researching on
Mhm.
our black men, black women, our relationships, our romantic relationships.
Mhm.
Um like I told you before, I think poetry is alchemy, and I think it's important to take the lead and turn it into gold. So the lead in this particular case has a lot to do with the red pill movement, the
Mhm.
Black Manosphere, and also Black women divestors. Um, and I've been reading and researching the content for a minute. Um, and I've been doing deep dives into this whole thing, and it's really, really, really scary. Um, and so what I'm doing right now is I'm working on putting together a book
Okay.
of poems about what it is I've been seeing, and how to go about, I guess, countering those messages. Um, because every, like, almost, if you go on TikTok, if you go on Instagram, if you go on Facebook, that's all you see. It's either We got black men tearing down black women tearing down black men. And it's scary because I'm like, like if I can't be for nobody, I gotta be for you. You know what I'm saying? And if you can't be for nobody, you gotta be for me. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm saying? And at the same time, it's just like there's so much animosity now. You know what I'm saying? There's so much animosity, and everybody is focused on being right and and being in control and being in power. And then you read certain things on the internet. Like, there was a meme where this person said, you know always be the one in the relationship who cares the least,
Mm.
because the one who cares the least is the one in control. The one who cares the least is the one that has the upper hand always. And I'm like, why in the world would you get into a relationship with someone just to prove how little you care about them? It makes no freaking sense. But
I had to.
but this is where we are right now. And
Well,
it's
here's
it's
my thing though.
yeah,
Every time I see the conversations, the red pill like, because I don't dive into it. I don't, because I'm like, I do not have, I don't have the bandwidth for that level of crazy.
I got you.
Um, I hate to tell them, all these red pill people
Mm-hmm.
and black manosphere people,
Mm-hmm.
is that there have been men talking that same exact crap for the past 50, 60, 70 years.
Wow. Wow.
And all that changes are the words that are used.
Sure.
A lot of what I hear, like the one that always floats across my page right now is the phrase passport bros.
Ah, yes. Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
but 30 years ago they were mail order brides.
Wow.
They were wow. Actually, no, I'm going to say 50 years ago, they were mail order brides. 30 years ago, they were Russian brides. It's the same thing. Y'all are not doing any. The only thing, like, so this has always been there.
Yeah.
I think the only difference now may be the internet allows them to amplify whatever it is they're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And B is that predominantly the behavior in the past was not associated with black men.
Mm.
I'm just talking about the mail order bride of it
For
all.
sure. For sure.
This was not what black men did.
Mm-hmm.
And now it is what they're doing, but they're not inventing anything new.
Wow. Wow. Nothing new under the sun. I got you.
Nothing new under the sun. It's the same thing, you know. Yeah, and if they were, and I think in my mind, if they would have said, if they were just saying, "Oh, I'm just going to go overseas and get me a wife," and not try to label it something new,
Mm-hmm.
all right, fine. But it's like, oh no, we're doing something new and different. No, y'all not. All right, so this goes to Melissa's question, and this is one that another friend of mine gave me.
Okay.
If Prince were alive, he would not be able to do a concert without doing Purple Rain.
Mm-hmm.
What is the piece that is most requested from you?
Mm-hmm.
Then I'm adding Melissa's question, which is, what is your favorite poem of yours? So you can answer both questions at the same time.
Okay. The poem that I get requested, the most requested poem is actually Pardon My French.
Oh,
Um
yes.
that poem
Yes.
is it usually gets requested probably the most. And then my favorite poem to do is 10 Things. And I think just because of what I was telling you earlier, where literally like you ask somebody to come up on stage, and then and they come up on stage, and the funniest part is like you tell them ahead of time. You're like, okay, are you ready for this? And then they go, yeah, I'm ready for this. And then like a minute into the poem, they start crying, and I'm like, ah. And but it's beautiful because like I said, I mean, like, I look at the kinds of things that that we do to people in our society that don't necessarily fit conventional beauty standards, whatever the case may be, whether they're short, fat, too skinny, too this, too that, whatever. And I'm just like, there's got to be a better way. And I'll be honest with you, Sherry, the reason why I did that poem to begin with was because literally I had men who were in my inbox who were asking me, well, how do you talk to a fat girl? How do you tell a fat girl that you like her? How do you
Good
approach
God,
them?
dudes, come on.
I'm dead. I am dead serious.
No, but then my reverse question is, how do you approach a skinny girl?
That's the ignorance I thrive on. This is the reason why. It's because, like, when you ask me questions like this, you know what I mean? It's just like, there's a there's a comedian that I love watching, Joe Coy. I love watching it. And he always, like, he tells people, like, when, like, in his stand-up, he'll say, well, I'm a comedian, right? And I always tell her, like, I'm a poet, right? You do know this, and it's just because the thing of it is just like, it's like, how, like, why would you ask me that question? But then I kind of figured, wait a minute, as comical as I think that is, these are women who are experiencing this. Like, there are women who, like, these bigger women are experiencing this, and it's like they don't know how to talk to them. They don't know that, you can just say, hello, my name is, and I I'm really interested in you, or whatever the case may be. They're not getting that. They're going, hey, big girl, come here, big girl, big girl, big thighs, yo, big thighs, You hear me talking to you, big thighs, Where you going, big thighs? Why ain't you going to stop and talk to me, big thighs? And
oh, Lord.
It's like, wow, like, so, and I'll be honest with you, shout out to Melissa Ellis too, because Melissa would, like, she would post different experiences that she's had, right? And I would read her posts a lot, and she would talk about how, because she was a larger woman, the kinds of comments that she would get, or like, she couldn't just like pump gas at a gas station without somebody saying something. Or she had posted one that really hit me hard, where she was talking about, she was with her godson in a grocery store, and she was walking down the aisles, and she was shopping for groceries, and this guy was following her, you know what I'm saying, through the grocery store, like stalking her in the grocery store. And I was just like, oh my God. So when I hear stuff like that, or when I read stuff like that, it hits me in a way that just gets my pen moving, because I'm just like, this can't be life. It can't be. It just can't be.
It is, unfortunately.
Oh, goddamn.
I almost, you know what, there'd be the conversation. My best friend and Melissa having that shared experience. My best friend is on the larger sides.
Okay.
Lover, not that I noticed. It exists,
Absolutely.
but it's not who she is.
Absolutely.
And her and I have been hanging, we're hanging out like girls do, shopping, not dressed for anything. In fact, we are dressed like bums.
Okay. No, but can I just tell you something? That's usually
Mhm.
when guys approach.
Every
It,
time. And I've
wow.
seen it, like, she's like, I know I don't look, she's like, I don't even think my shirt and pants match. Like, this is what she said. Like, in this conversation she was having the day, was like, my clothes don't even match. We just out here.
Okay.
And dudes are like left and right ready to crash the car instead of just
Wow.
saying hi, or they're objectifying her. And I'm just like, come
Hmm.
on
Yep. Yep.
now.
Yep.
All right. Let me back to my questions.
Okay.
Who is your favorite writer? This can be a songwriter, poet, author, anyone you consider a writer.
This is always a tough question because
Mhm.
just like just like Lays, I can't choose just one.
Mhm.
Uh so I will tell you that my favorite writers,
Mhm.
as far as the literary genre go, there are two that I am in complete awe of, and that
Mhm.
is Toni Morrison and James Baldwin. Um, those two have made the biggest impact on me as a
Mhm.
writer. And the funny thing about it is that when it as it relates to Baldwin and Morrison, it's like two sides of the same coin for me. So like with Baldwin, I fell in love with his essays,
Mhm.
right? And I was just I was I had I was so in love with his essays that I didn't even realize he actually wrote novels. Um
Mhm.
so like I had never read like Go Tell It on the Mountain, or Tell Me How Long the Train's Been Gone, or
Mhm.
Giovanni's Room, or anything like that. I had been reading No Name in the Street, Notes of a Native Son, The Fire Next Time, Devil Finds Work, and then one of my favorite books, Evidence of Things Unseen. And then somebody said, he does write novels too. And I'm like, what? And I go and I start reading those, and I'm like, God damn. You know what I'm saying? And same thing with Toni Morrison. I was in love with her essays, okay, for the longest time. Source of Self Regard, Playing in the Dark, The Origin of Others, What Moves in the Margin, all these brilliant collections of essays. I didn't even know about Song of Solomon or The Bluest Eye, or
Mm.
you know what I'm saying? And then it was my mother was like, "Have you ever read Beloved?" And I'm like, "No." And she's like, That's where you got to start. You got to start with Beloved." I read that book, and I kid you not, I read that book, and I was never the same person after that. It was never the same person. I read that
Mm.
book. That book literally changed the way I looked at not just us, but the world.
Oh, wow.
Okay. And so after that, it was Song of Solomon, then it was jazz, and then it was then this year, I'm in a book club, in a black book club. Shout out my girl Pam Iverson. I'm in a black book club, and we did The Bluest Eye, and just
I think my
how
daughter I think my daughter might be in that book club because she literally just finished The Bluest Eye today.
oh wow, okay.
Yeah,
Just
she had never read it before, and she was reading it today.
just powerful stuff. And then my other two favorite writers would
Mhm.
be Stevie Wonder and Billy Joel, actually. Those two.
Billy Joel is a hell of a writer.
Oh, Lord have
You can
mercy.
have a 1 hour conversation with anyone in history, living or dead. Who would you choose and why?
Whew. Uh could have a 1 hour conversation with anybody living or dead. Man, that's a that's a hell of a question. Uh I'm going to go a bit unconventional, because I love this man's work,
Mhm.
and he's one of my favorite entertainers of all time, one of my favorite actors. It would be Robin Williams.
Ooh, that's the first time we've heard that name.
It would be him. I don't like, as a kid, watching him on Mork and Mindy.
Hmm.
I used to love that show, and then just to watch him grow into this brilliant, like, dramatic actor. His him in Goodwill Hunting. Are
Is
you
amazing.
se- are you serious?
He
With
deserved that award.
Oh my god. And then his stand-up comedy, which is for the most part improvised. Like, he just does he I mean, okay, you mentioned Inside the Actor Studio, right?
Hmm.
Now, he has a very famous Inside the Actor Studio um episode with James Lipton, where
Hmm.
he took a woman's scarf out of the audience, and he riffed for like 15 minutes, just doing all these different things with the scarf. And the way, if he were an MC, he would be the greatest freestyle MC ever. Okay?
Agreed.
The stuff that he could come off with from the top of his head is just ridiculous. And
He,
then,
he must have been, how can I say it? He must have been amazing to see live.
yes,
But I could also see where in his the early part of his career, people will be going, "What is this kid
you're
doing?
doing. Yep,
What
yep,
is he like? I This doesn't make sense."
yep. And it's
But
not and it takes it's like, and what
mhm,
I love about that is that he didn't slow down, so that other
mhm,
people could catch up. It's like, no, you're gonna catch up to me. You know what I'm
exactly.
saying? You're gonna speed up and you're gonna catch up to me. And I love that about him. He's a master of his craft, or several crafts, really. And I would want to pick his brain about the art of creativity. I would pick his brain, like,
Mhm.
clean, if I could.
Analysis saying yes. That segment. I may have to go find that tonight just to see it again.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us something about yourself that most people would not know.
Something about me that most people would not know. Um, let's see. Uh, uh, what is something about me that people don't know? Um, hmm. Well, I'm
Well,
I'm I'm trying to. Oh, that I'm. um. uh. Wow. Thank you, Mimi. Wow. Something that people wouldn't know about me. I am. I guess one thing that people probably don't know about me
mhm,
is that I am very much in like I'm a nerd at heart.
mhm.
So I'm very much into anime and comic books, and uh and I literally, I can spend hours inside of a bookstore. Drives my wife insane. But um, I literally shop for books like she shops for shoes. Like, it's bad. It's very
Oh
bad. And
wow.
if I'm in an independent bookstore, it's even worse, because out here, we have a couple of them, but in New York City, shout to West Sider Books. It's like this little bookshop, and when you walk in, it's just it's just shelves of all these different kinds of books, old books, new books, books that were out of print at one point, and they've got crates and all kinds of.
Mhm.
And whenever I walk in, shout out to my man Jasper over there. He just says, "Have at it," and I can go and I can just be in there for hours, just digging in crates and
Mhm.
shelves, and and it's bad. But I'm a serious bibliophile. Like my audiobook library and physical book library are sick. Um, but that's me. That I'm a
Mhm.
huge a huge nerd to the core of who I am.
Cool. Do you have another creative outlet? If not, is there something you would like to learn?
Oh man, whew, um, you know what? I would love to learn how to do stand up. I would love to learn how to do that. Um, I think comedian like and I know a lot of people will be like kind of bugged about this, but I like when it comes to performing, I don't study poets. I study comedians.
Mhm.
Because comedians are far more constrained. They have to be funny. Okay. Poets, we can be funny, but we're not confined to that. So if I look at, like, for instance, like, I love George Carlin. I
Mhm.
absolutely love George Carlin. And when I would watch him, that is the closest thing to spoken word poetry I have ever seen in my life. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like the way that he broke things down, and just how insightful he was. Like when he was telling the whole world about the words that you can't say on television.
Oh
You know what I
yes.
mean? I
Right.
mean, just that's a freaking poem. You know what I'm saying? But it's his sense of timing, his delivery, you know what I mean, the way he commanded a stage, you know what I mean. All of those things are things that we do as poets. And so when I watch him, when I watch Chris Rock, when I watch,
Mhm.
Dave Chappelle, when I watch, guys like that, it's the way they do it, the way they set the jokes up, the punchlines, the timing, the delivery of it, all of that stuff is right there in what we do. And so that's something that if I ever decided to stop doing spoken word, I'd want to try my hand at becoming a stand-up comedian. I want to learn that.
All right. Before I ask the last question, if people want to support too, what is your cash app so I can get?
It is $MAALYWHOP, Molly Wop.
WHOP. Got
Mm-hmm.
it.
Yep.
Watch. I'm about to make magic happen.
Okay. Okay.
There it is, right across the bottom of the screen, everybody.
Okay.
Also, you mentioned your book in your bio. Is the book available anywhere?
It is available on Amazon, and it's called The Choice of Weapons. And it's my first book. Shout out to my boy Javon Baker out there in Denver, Colorado, who was gracious enough to edit it for me, and also help me bring it to life. And
Mhm.
so and just as I was saying about independent bookstores, Nally hit the nail on the head. Shout out to Red Emma's. You know what I'm saying? I got a bunch of books from there when I went and featured there. And speaking of features, Nally, bring me back, man. Bring me back. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Nally. Shout out to Nally.
He will be
You know what I'm
he will
saying?
be here shortly. So we have one more question. Then
Mm,
I'm going to leave the floor for Jamaal to do one more poem, and then I'm going to bring back my co-host, and then we're going
okay.
to go ahead and close this out tonight.
Okay.
Last question, borrowed directly from inside the actor studio.
Okay.
If heaven exists,
Mm.
what would you want to hear God say when you arrived at the pearly gates?
Whew. Um. Wow. Uh. What would I want to hear? What I would want to hear is, you made me look like a genius for giving you the gift of word.
Mm. And with that, I'm going to exit stage left and leave you the floor.
Okay. All right. All right. So last one. Okay. So here we go. All right. Q-tips, or poem for the men who tell me that rape culture does not exist. If you look closely at a box of Q-tips, you'll see a warning label that reads, "Do not insert swab in ear canal, could cause injury if used to clean ears." Yet, somehow I have always managed to disregard this warning, become so damn comfortable with sticking things where they don't belong, never thought of myself as being irresponsible. After all, it's just easier to hold the ear responsible. I mean, what else is a man supposed to do when it just sits there all naked and exposed and open and dirty? So very dirty. And just look at this Q-tip, so perfectly designed to fit. What other purpose could it possibly serve but insertion? And what is an ear canal but another hole, another something aching to be filled? So this must be the way God, man intended it. God has a male pronoun, so we may as well be one and the same, and it feels so divine right. It couldn't possibly be wrong, and it feels good to have the power to deal with any itch just asking to be scratched. So let's be clear, my ear was practically asking for it. And then I think about the women misjudged as dirty enough to warrant their bodily autonomy being stripped clean, while the warnings on their boxes were disregarded by a man who felt as if he had nothing more than an itch to scratch, who seemed to be hard of hearing due to a buildup of something other than earwax, goaded on by an entire culture that taught him that there's no harm done if all he does is put the tip in. And there's
Woo!
that.
Okay. All right. All right. Wow.
What? I've heard that. I've heard that. And I
Mhm.
absolutely was like, as soon as you started it, I was like, yup.
What up, Gigi? What up, Nally?
Hey, I've
Yo,
got,
yo, yo. Mally, Mally, Mally.
What up, sir?
I've got so, man, listen,
Been too long.
Yes, sir.
I
Talk
might
to
be
me,
freezing.
Gigi.
I don't know. So y'all had to tell me. But
a
I'm having issues over here, so I might be freezing.
little
We can
bit.
hear you. We can
We
hear
can
you.
hear
Go
you,
ahead.
but yeah, it's a little bit of a delay. I was
All
going to
right.
say, I remember, okay, so to the two things I said earlier. One, I remember who had it was KP Brown. He had a venue called Pecola Breed Love and the Freedom Party.
Yes, yes, yes. And you know what? What's so funny is that it wasn't until I read The Bluest Eye this year that I made that connection. And I was like, Pecola Breedlove and the Freedom Party. What? And
Got a whole venue called Pecola
yeah,
Breedlove.
and I never made the connection because, like I said, I was so into Morrison's essays that I wasn't really aware of her novels. And so when I saw that name, I was like, oh shit, Philly. I was like, that's what it is. So shout out to KP Brown too, man. That's my dude. Shout out to KP.
That's somebody we have not talked to yet. I would put that right on. I think he's been on on the list, and we haven't gotten back to that, and we need to. And
I agree.
Yeah.
And the other reference I made is if you've never heard this poem, what you reminded me of, and I love making connections like this. Have you ever heard or read what's the Angel Nafis poem? What is it actually called? I believe it's called National Avenue, Brooklyn.
Okay.
It's the one where she starts yelling chocolate, chocolate, chocolate. Have you heard this?
Oh, okay. Yes. Yes.
Christos. So if no one's ever heard this poem, it is literally a whole poem of her getting catcalled. Like while walking through Brooklyn. It is the whole poem is about her getting catcalled.
Yep.
And it is, and I come back to this poem literally at least 3 to 4 times a year. I come back to this poem and bring it up in conversation because it's absolutely brilliant. But it's literally that. Like when you were saying that, I was like, why does this remind me of that poem yet again? Because she's like, hey, chocolate, chocolate, chocolate. Well, fuck you then, Kanye West. Like literally her getting catcalled and then same concept. Like holy crap,
I wasn't even thinking about that, but you're absolutely right.
Wow.
Oh my God.
Ooh. Yeah, I love making connections like this. I'm like, yo, that all of that. I was sitting here going, remind me, I'm writing this down to remind myself to come back to it.
Wow. I know analysis is having some technical issues, so we're definitely going to hold on. Again, if you are in the audience and you have a question for our special guest, Jamaal St. John, please drop it in the chat. We are more than welcome to ask. Again, so very excited that you made time for us to come back this month.
I'm also excited you brought up the I'm also very excited you brought up the comedians because first of all, Melissa's right. You are extremely funny. if no one notices this, if no one has ever if you've ever had a conversation for more than 5 minutes, I give it 2. I'll tell you what, I'll give it 120 seconds. If you've had a conversation with them longer than 120 seconds, you will absolutely figure out how funny Jamaal St. John is.
He actually very is.
You know what, and I'll be honest with you, like it's not something that I intentionally do. It's just, I think it has a lot to do with my comfort level around people. Like if I'm really comfortable around people, I I'm able to kind of just let loose a little bit. But but you guys are like my family. So it's just like, so whenever I get around you guys, it's nothing but love. And shout out to Naja. And like I was telling her, I miss being, in the DMV. A lot of people don't realize this, but my very first out-of-state gig was in the DMV in like 96.
Oh wow.
That was shout out to Nikki Miller and T-ism. That was my very first out-of-state gig. And
okay.
Yeah. And that was the first time I had ever met Sonia Renee Taylor. It was the first time.
No. You don't understand. Nikki's the reason. Nikki's venue is the reason I started poetry. The story I always tell about the first venue I ever walked into was when Nikki and her husband were doing the very first iteration of DC's Slam back when it was still at Cafe Myth. And I had my coworker took me, and the feature was Salam AC. That is why I started poetry, like legit, because of Nikki's venue.
Wow. Shout out to Elrika Andrews too. I can't forget you, Elrika.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And shameless plug. coming. Shameless plug coming. His next feature in the DMV area is in September at Busboys and Poets, 14th and V.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
I was waiting for that.
And I
yes,
and you know, and you want to know what? And I just want to say thank you to you, Sherry. I want to say thank you to you, Gigi. I want to say thank you to Rebecca Dupas. I want to say thank you to E Baby Poems. Because to be honest with you guys, shout out to Orville too, Orville the poet. You know, you guys have been so gracious, and Nally too. Shout out to you, Nally. You know what I'm saying? For
thanks
always
for the new nickname. I never thought of that after
for,
all.
It just works together tonight.
It
Nally
just
and
works.
Mally.
There you
Nally
go.
and Mally.
That's it. That's a show, brother.
That's
a
a
show,
show,
brother.
There you go.
You know what I'm saying?
For real though?
For real though.
Wait a minute.
You know what I'm
Nally
saying?
and Mally, wait a minute. Am I right on this? Nally and Mally, the all Virgo tour.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah. Hell yeah. What?
He got stuck.
yo.
I know he heard me.
Yo.
He is frozen. He is having. There you go.
There he goes.
There you go. I keep freezing on my end, so I keep missing up. But for real though, don't play.
I'm not playing. Yo, cause look, right. When I got a chance to do Red Emma's, it was so different because the one thing that I love, right, is that the core of the reading, like the theme of the reading is always social commentary, right? And to be able to walk into that space and just kind of like loosen up and do that and have a crowd that's so receptive to it. And I mean, like, I had so much fun doing that. And the thing about it that's so dope is I'm surrounded by books. And I tell people all the time, when I am surrounded by books, I am literally in my Mecca. When I am surrounded by books, I am in my Mecca. There's nothing like being surrounded by words and then being able to deliver words to an audience. And that was so much fun. That Mother Earth vibe, so much fun.
And we much appreciated it too.
So much fun.
And I'm just gonna analysis. I'm gonna let you for your question, but I also want to say that weekend that you were here was so much fun because that Friday night you was being ratchet at my event, and then Saturday night.
But what did I tell you though? Listen.
Perfect.
But listen though, but that's what I'm saying. Like I love that because that's all of me. Like that's you know what I'm saying? Like that's a part of me. And the other part, like you're never going like I remember I remember when I was first starting out, and there was this poet that we were sitting on the side, and I'll never forget this. I came off stage, I did one of those real pro-black revolutionary poems, whatever. And I came off stage and he said this to me. He said, you know, Malcolm X loved to fuck sometimes, you know.
Damn.
And I was like, what? And he was like, even Malcolm wasn't revolutionary 24/7. You know what I'm saying? He had a wife, he has kids, you know what I'm saying? So like, you know what I'm saying? So stop acting like you can't enjoy life. Stop acting like, you know what I'm saying, like everything is the struggle. No, it's not. He's like, yeah, you got that, but you got things in life that make you happy too. You know what I'm saying? You got things that, you know what I mean? Like there are other facets to your existence. You are more than the sum product of your pain. And he was like, go ahead now. Go ahead now.
No. Really good.
I was gonna say, and I'm gonna try to talk fast because my net situation doesn't want to cooperate, so I might have to bop out. First of all, I appreciate you saying that in terms of Red Emma's Mother Poetry Vibe, because we so loved having you, and so glad that it gave you a chance to just go all the way in
It was
on
great.
on your justice pieces, you know,
It was
as
great.
and people that may be listening. Our theme is peace, justice, poetry. So and see, I know you have that, and a lot of folk, you know, they might know your calling card as the appreciation for the big girls and some of the other things.
Sure.
But I wanted folk to get there so they can see, you know, how your critical analysis is on high level and be able to go in there. I so appreciate that. And we talked about some of your other poems tonight.
Yes.
But for me, you know how much I love the joint cracking on the Texas school board.
Tabula rasa, yeah.
You know, and also I don't think I've ever asked you what the response over the years has been to the poem where you critique our use in the community of nigger. Because I love the way the poem starts off where you talk about the little white kid on the corner listening. I always think there's a poem that associates in my mind with that. I think of your poem, and I think of our girl, the late great It's Real Light.
Yes. Yes.
And her
Shout
poem,
out Light.
and her poem critiquing
Yeah.
the same thing.
Yeah.
And I've always wondered, you know, what kind of feedback you've gotten. It not that we haven't all used the word, not that we haven't all laughed at it.
For sure.
Comedically, it's in us now. It's in the culture.
Sure.
But there's enough, you know. You got gray hair, and I got the most gray hair out of anybody here. So I'm still of the generation where, you know, that's fighting words.
Yeah.
You know, I got 1 foot in that generation and 1 foot
in this one.
generation, you know, coming up under Richard Pryor and them that used it regularly. But it still has never always sat comfortable with me, even though I used it. So I've always wondered what the response is to that. And I'm gonna let you respond to that. But in case my internet totally trips, I just want to say we loved having you. The fact that you even want to come back is an honor to me. I haven't even started the second rounds because, you know, I only go quarterly. So I'm still tapping everybody on the first round.
Okay.
But the fact that you even want to come back
Yes,
is an honor to us. Stand-up independent bookstores, you know that when you come, even not for the vibe, but the next time you're in town with Sherry and anybody else, you know you got to get here early in the day so you can come see the store because, you know, we're in our new location. I want you to come see the new spot. I saw Kerwin with us tonight. Shout out to Kerwin's feature when he came down. And so it means a lot to me and on behalf of my teammates, my colleagues, you know, that you all have made 10 years of Red Emma's Mother Poetry Vibe. We're in our 10th year now. Me and Grace Love had the 2 longest running current things in Baltimore. Beautiful. And it's because of poets like you that happens. So in case my neck goes freezing, I'm going to shut up. But I'm wondering what your response has been over the years when you do that particular critique of our use of nigger and that type of thing.
It's interesting because I've gotten it from both sides. Like I've gotten it from people who say, you know, it sounds kind of preachy in terms of, you know, how can you police, how can you be a poet and you're policing somebody's language, which I'm not actually. My goal in writing the poem really was just to kind of I read Randall Kennedy's Nigger, the career of I think it's called the career of a evil word or something like that, but it was Randall Kennedy reading that book that kind of got me interested in it. And of course, then it was the moratorium that the NAACP declared on the word and so forth and so on. But my purpose in writing it really was just to kind of critique, you know, why we use it. What's the end game in us using it? You know, is it, you know, is it supposed to like, and I get it. It's like a soul food thing, right? This is something that we do a lot. Hip hop, soul food, you know, certain other words that we take. Women do this with the word bitch a lot. Okay. We take words that were meant to destroy us and we try to turn them upside down and inside out, you know what I'm saying? To the point of where, like, for instance, we take the word nigga and we take off the ER, we put an A on there, and we're like, okay, that's a term of endearment, right? But, but it's that whole thing of taking things that were meant to harm us and trying to use those very words to endear us to each other. Is what we did with soul food. It was slave food, and now look at what it is now. Now it's comfort food. Now it's, even though it's still sort of killing us, but nevertheless, you know what I'm saying? We took the bad things and tried to make them into good things. So I understand that part of what we're trying to do with it. But at the same time, we can't divorce the history of a thing from the thing. Like, we can't. You know what I mean? Like, we can't just say, well, okay, it's a term of endearment now because we say so. No, it was originally created to not be so endearing of a term. And we have to deal with that. Like, we can't just push that to the side and act like it doesn't exist, because if anybody from any other race, says that to us, right, it's time to fight. You know what I'm saying? Like there's even been a controversy now where, can Latino people use that with us? Like, can they use the word? You know what I'm saying? And then you have white people who say, well, if you use it in rap songs, what's the harm if I call you my? And then you don't want that backlash. You don't want that. You know what I'm saying? So,
and I think that was the brilliance of your poem, is that you start off with that juxtaposition. You start off with that polemic right there. All right, which is the issue, which is always the polemic in my mind. Okay, all right, we sling it around, or we're gonna use it, or whatever. All right, but don't go drawing your piece ready to shoot the next white person that has bought your albums, that can recite all of your lyrics by heart, and driving down the street blasting the booming system, and they reciting along, talking about nigga, this, that, and the other, and you look at them crazy. Why? Because they just bought your albums and listened to it, and we use it and say it and whatnot. So that's the polemic. I mean, if you're gonna do it, but you can't skip over that.
You can't skip over it. And to be honest with you, right? Like, so we know as poets, right, that words have denotations and they have connotations, right? And so so the thing about it is like, if you guys ever get a chance to read it, there's a famous book by a linguistics professor from the University of Chicago. I believe his name is S.I. Hayakawa. And he wrote a book called Language in Thought and Action. And in the book, he talks about something called the ladder of abstraction. And the ladder of abstraction is, you can take a word or an image or anything else, and you can put it at the bottom of the ladder. And at the bottom of the ladder, that is the literal meaning of what that is. So if I say, I'll put Simply Sherry at the bottom of the ladder, right? Simply Sherry is a black woman, right? Literally, right? But as you go up the ladder of abstraction, now all of a sudden it's, oh, she's a poet. She's a daughter. She's that. It grows. What happens is, if you take the word nigger and you put it on the bottom of that ladder, right? It's the most evil, vile, disgusting word you've ever heard in your entire life. But as you go up the ladder, now all of a sudden we're talking about mass incarceration of black men. We're talking about high mortality rates. We're talking about criminalization. We're talking about the war on poverty, the war on crime, the war on drugs. As you keep going up that ladder, that word has certain connotations to it. So it ain't just, well, it's just something that we use in hip hop, or it's just something that we use in context with each other. No. There are a lot of other connotations to it. And that is how the world sees you. So when we talk about all these things about, the disproportionate rates at which we are incarcerated and things like that, or we talk about how often we're expelled in school, or we talk about how we are the first to die, or we talk about the difference between the opioid crisis and the crack epidemic. That word nigger is all up in that. That's why opioid people who are addicted to opioids are called addicts, and people that were addicted to crack were called junkies. It's a difference. Language matters.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So you just can't divorce something from something and think that, oh, it's all good now. No. There's still some ugliness there, and we got to address that too.
Dig that. I wonder if that's the same S.I. Hayakawa, who, that was a congressman too. Might be his son or something. Maybe it's his son. I have to research that.
Yes, sir.
Man, so good to, as I always say when I come on, and I think the ladies will agree, you know a person for years, but you still always learn more here in these Kitmo sessions about your friends, and your fellow poets. And so I definitely appreciate that. Look, going back to another part of the conversation, I was waiting for somebody to start talking about Zane. Y'all ain't throw Zane up in the spectrum.
Okay,
anyway,
well,
right. Anyway.
Well, that's that. Hey, look, what she lacks in eroticism, okay, she makes up for in being prolific. But if you read anything by her, I would say what you should read actually isn't one of her novels. There's a book that she has called Dear G Spot. And it's literally a bunch of it's like a bunch of interviews and things with women about about their sex lives and stuff like that. Very insightful stuff, honestly. But her novels, no. Her novels are, it really is that 50 Shades of Grey effect. Like, they probably would look hotter on screen than they read in her actual books. They're not nah. Just no. Absolutely not.
I had the Sex Chronicles though, the first one.
Yeah, you got. Did
I
you?
Remember that. I remember that.
Did you read Getting Buck Wild? Did you read that one?
Did not read that one. Did not get that one.
Yeah, it's save yourself the trouble.
Gotcha.
All right.
Don't do it.
All right, Gigi, I'm leaving you to the last question.
Okay.
All right, listen. So I asked you this before. I'm gonna ask you this again because it's the last question for every interview. But I'm gonna ask you again because you probably have 10 more answers than the last time I asked you this question.
Okay.
Which is, you've been on this show 2 times now. Who you want to see in the hot seat?
Who do I want to see in the hot seat?
Who you want to see get their brain picked?
I want to see somebody that we don't get a chance to see perform as often. So if I had my druthers, I would pick Melissa Ellis, honestly.
Actually, we literally just had the conversation.
Melissa, hi.
We're gonna be contacting you. We got some things coming, some things we're gonna do.
Yeah.
But we'll be in contact.
I'm putting this in the universe, ma'am. You're going to be on the show, period. In the sentence, I just don't know when. But soon.
Yeah, she's dope. And she I always tell her that, I never get a chance to see her performances as often as I would like to, because she doesn't do video, but you know what I'm saying? But I've caught her in a couple of venues, and I've seen her work, and and she's pretty awesome. So if I had my druthers, I'd want to see somebody who doesn't get the kind of exposure I think they should get. Because you could pick like a bunch of names where it's like, okay, yeah, I know that guy, I know that sister, da 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 da. But I would like to see somebody that doesn't get the spotlight as often as I think they should, and so that would be my choice. I think Melissa Ellis should be there.
Yeah, you know what? That's an excellent pick, and we will discuss a date fully amenable to having. Hell yes, that's a resounding hell yes to having her on the show. Yes, ma'am. And also, somebody who with more juice than me should make arrangements to get her up here to do something.
I don't know why. I feel that my chain has been yanked. We'll discuss it.
Yes, slightly. Somebody with a little more juice than me.
All right. So everyone in the back room, everyone in the chat, please give us a huge round of applause to Jamaal St. John.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Again. Thank you again for coming back and joining us. We will be back next Sunday with Kaniki hosting the Heal Assist in Poets and Platforms.
Oh, yeah, Princess Best. Yes.
Princess Best will be here next week. It's going to be an amazing interview. Wow. As we say every week, everyone, please stay safe. Wash your hands. Stay well. Stay away from COVID, all their line sisters, the RSV, the flu, the cold. Let's all stay well. We'll see you all again next week.
Keep the germs over there away.
Yeah, keep them over there. Good night.
Good night, everybody.